30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and Young Guns Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in on what is kind of a cloudy, overcast Friday in Nashville, Tennessee. We're broadcasting from our new digs at the Ford Ice Center in Bellevue. And as all of you know, boy, we had a big day out here yesterday with the launching of our Wilson Bank and Trust Summer Sports Speaker Series. Barry Trotz, the incoming Preds general manager out here, did a wonderful job. And boy, a bunch of you, first of all, probably had about 125 in here, and another close to, 4,000 of you have watched that interview in some form or fashion. And Barry was terrific. My thanks not only to Barry, but to the entire staff out here, led by Joel Butcher. They did a remarkable job. The set looked great. The food was great. People had a really good time, and that's the most important thing. Even better, we have hidden back here both Billy and David. So we'll take them for a second behind the Iron Curtain here.
Well, you can't see us from where the camera has you at, George. But
better.
We are back behind.
Yeah, even better.
We are back behind George here at the Ford Ice Center. So
yeah. So what causes that?
Well, just logistical switching around by Joel Butcher. He decided to keep us back here at least for today, but we'll be back in line of your vision starting next.
Did he put you in timeout essentially?
That might have been a little timeout, but it was an easier decision for Joel and us to make. So,
David, was it?
We're at the mercy of Joel.
David, yes, we are. David, was Billy put in timeout?
I think Billy was banished back here after, I guess, Wednesday's show. So I think you enjoy having him back here. You know, all the spotlight's on you.
What was his big sin?
You know what, Billy being Billy, I guess, and Kelly would agree with that as well.
Oh,
yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Kelly would have the best joke ready right now. He would say something real snobby and cynical. Oh, what did Billy do? He screw up the audio yesterday at the speaker series?
Nice.
Billy was the reason why the mic wasn't working at first, but we got that all figured out.
Yeah.
Luckily, David switched the mics. I was over here on board control, and I screamed at David, muted our mics, and said, "Hey, switch the mics," because they sounded like, what was it, Darth Vader.
Darth Vader. Well, I tell you what else it sounded like. You remember in Rocky, Drago?
Yes.
I break you.
Yeah, it was a little bit of Drago, too.
Some of that going on.
Yeah.
By the way, for the record, Drago did not break old Sylvester.
No, he didn't.
Sylvester in, the 14th round pummeled him.
Meanwhile, George, speaking of breaking, I think Philly might have broken Brooklyn last night. They won 102-97 as we start the NBA playoff recap. Tyrese Maxey had a big night, 25 points. Sixers lead that series 3-0 now. Warriors beat the Kings 114-97, so they get back on track. Kings still lead the series, though, 2-1. Steph with a big night. I don't know if you saw any of the highlights, George.
Oh, I watched the whole thing.
He had a big shot right before the half,
yeah.
And then he hit some big late shots as well. So Warriors, that was their must-win. I mean, you got it back at home, and they got it. Suns beat the Clippers. Devin Booker, 45 points.
So help me with this, because I never saw the official stuff. Why no Kawhi Leonard?
Kawhi did not play because of a knee injury. So they sat him out. Yeah, so they decided to sit him out. Suns lead that 2-1 after a huge night. George, David was right. That series right there has been the best so far, at least I think, talent, skill-wise, high level.
Oh, you've got some real studs in that game. Devin Booker is as good as any of them.
Yeah, I mean, that's high-level basketball.
He had 45 last night?
He did.
Wow.
I
knew it was a bunch.
For as good as Kawhi is when he's on the court and healthy, he's shown you over the last few years that he can't stay healthy, and that's kind of been the Clippers' downfall with him and Paul George as well.
Yeah.
Tonight, Celtics and Hawks at 6 o'clock, Cavs and Knicks at 7:30, and the Nuggets.
Hey, I promise you, the Garden will be electric. When they do that defense chant, nobody gets louder than the Garden.
And when's the last time they had a playoff game?
Nixon.
The Nixon administration.
Nixon administration. Yeah.
Wow. Nuggets and T-Wolves also later tonight. Nuggets lead that one 2-0. They can take control of that series.
That one feels
tonight.
like a sweep.
Yeah, I think that one feels like a sweep, and then the Sixers might just sweep Brooklyn as well. So we got more NBA tonight. George, in the NHL, 4 games last night. Toronto all over Tampa Bay, 7-2. That series is now tied at 1. Rangers beat New Jersey 5-1. Rangers lead at 2-0. Devils get to come back home in their new arena and play their first playoff game there. Colorado beats Seattle 3-2. That series is tied at 1. And Vegas over Winnipeg 5-2. So a lot of tied series at 1-1.
Oh, yeah. They love that.
Man, NHL, I think, has been more entertaining than the NBA so far. I just from a entertainment level, the crowd involvement, I mean, that ESPN taking the NHL playoffs has been huge. So it's been huge for their market.
Memo to Joel Embiid, and in particular to James Harden. Quit acting like thugs.
Might be a good idea.
I mean, when James Harden has the nerve to sit there and not understand why he got kicked out, when he kicks a guy in an area you don't do it. And by the way, Embiid should have been thrown out too.
What do they think is going to happen?
Well, they're acting like punks.
And it might end up costing their teams, right? I mean, probably not the Sixers this round.
It doesn't look like in this series.
Yeah, not this series, but later, if Harden keeps acting like that, and then Draymond with the Warriors, especially this next home game, you never know how much that's going to cost them. George, there was some news breaking earlier today. Jamison Williams is among 4 Detroit Lions players, 4 Lions plus Washington defensive end, suspended for betting. Quintez Cephas and C.J. Moore have been suspended indefinitely, as was Commanders defensive end Shaka Toney. They can reapply for reinstatement after 1 year, although Detroit announced that its 2 players have been released. So this is you don't see this a whole lot in today's day and age.
No, Calvin Ridley got it a year ago in Jacksonville, and now these guys, I can't say the word, proliferation of the ability.
Easy.
Yeah, it's very easy. And so that's sort of what comes with it, I guess.
It's the price of the admission. So we'll see where that goes. George, this was put on our update yesterday. I think it's still good news to talk about. The Oakland A's are headed to Las Vegas.
They sure as hell are.
They have signed a binding agreement to purchase land near the Vegas Strip where they intend to construct a major league ballpark. Team president Dave Cavall said Wednesday night. They put out a statement yesterday. I know we're going to get to that with Danny Evans a little bit later.
Yeah. It'll be subject number 1.
Yeah, topic point number 1. So good for them, though. I mean, I feel like we talked about that just a week ago about getting out of Oakland. I feel like we've been talking about that for 5 or 6 years. So good for Oakland and the state of California for getting a better spot for everyone in California doesn't have to go to the A's stadium anymore. Max Scherzer, other baseball news, was ejected. Was it last night, David?
It was two nights ago.
2 nights ago, yeah.
After an illegal substance check, and he's been suspended for 10 games. He can appeal the suspension. Mets manager Buck Showalter said after the game that Scherzer was ejected for having rosin on his glove, and if deemed to have violated the rule on sticky substances, he faces a 10-game suspension, and he will face that suspension.
And we will discuss it with Danny.
How about it?
Yeah.
That's all we got, George.
Oh, it is not all we've got.
That's all I've got.
Okay, Toronto today fired a coach that has won a world title. The Raptors getting rid of Nick Nurse. This had been coming. Nurse had been putting out some stuff that sounded like he was not very happy with the organization, and so they blew him out of there today. And then this one, Billy Preston, former Kansas men's basketball player who never got to play in a single collegiate game due to his involvement in an ongoing NCAA investigation, has spoken out that the Jayhawks staff knew about the payments made by Adidas to his mother. This all came out in a 30 for 30 podcast of ESPN's called The Bag Game. Preston was asked if the Kansas staff knew that Adidas associate TJ Gasnola had paid around $89,000. And players said, oh, yeah, the staff knew.
Wow.
But the NCAA'd like to have a little talk.
Yeah, they might be talking with them soon.
Kansas and Memphis, I believe, are the last two that get to go to the alternative to the NCAA Infractions Committee. The NCAA deemed them to be too lenient and blew them out of the water. And so Kansas and I think Memphis are the last two that get to deal with them.
Man, that's crazy talking about that. It's about over with some of these dealings, you know. So that's out there. Also out there, George, Vandy and Tennessee this weekend in Knoxville. 3-game series starts tonight at 5 o'clock. After last year, Tennessee coming into Nashville and sweeping the Vols, you got to imagine, not the coaching staff, but some of the players that experienced that last year are going to be playing with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder in Knoxville, right? I mean, that doesn't happen. Tennessee coming into Nashville and sweeping Tim Corbin's program.
Oh, I imagine, first of all, the emotions in that stadium are really going to be running high.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, let's face it, Vandy for about 15 years in baseball under Tim Corbin has been the hunted. Tennessee finally caught him a year ago and went past him, as that 3-game sweep suggests. But not only that, you know, they thought they were going to make a long run in the NCAA tournament. Didn't turn out that way because of Notre Dame.
Yep.
Now Vandy's back at the top. In Tennessee, and I don't pretend to know all of it, I'm guessing injuries have had something to do with it. Billy, they've been kind of a disappointment so far.
They really have. And you know, they've had a few injury issues, but it's really been, they lost a lot from last year. I mean, they lost every single position player. They've got their pitching staff back, though. Chase Dolander, Chase Burns, and Drew Beam are all back, but they've struggled. At least two of those guys have really struggled. So, you know, for Tennessee, this is the weekend for them, I think, to get back on track, if any. Right? I mean, they're coming off a sweep in Fayetteville, and they lost to Tennessee Tech in the midweek this week. So I want to say Vandy wins this series, but I was talking to David earlier. Watch out for Tennessee at home.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, they are a very, very good team at home in that, you know, that small cracker box type stadium, and it's 320 in left and right. So there's going to be some runs scored. It's going to be you're going to see some high scoring games this weekend.
So you think there'll be some heckling?
No. There won't be any of that.
Oh, there will be a lot of that.
No, and I think that's good. That'll be good for Vandy too. You know, I think they like playing in those type of atmospheres. I mean, who doesn't? You know, that's why you play in the SEC. That's why you want to play in the SEC. So, you know, I think if anything, it might help them, you know, create more of a chip on their shoulder. So I'm excited for that. It'll be fun.
So help me with this, Billy. Is McGee ready?
McGee is ready to roll.
Okay, I love it. We'll go to the break, and then we'll talk a little bit with Mark McGee about the end of the Predator season, what's coming, Barry Trotz. But first, we're going to talk a little Action 24/7. Are you betting on the NBA or the NHL playoffs? It's not easy, but it can be a lot of fun. And the folks at Action 24/7 Sports, they're local. They're Tennessee's only locally owned and operated deal, which means these are folks that want local business, they want to deal with you, and they want to treat you right. So with that in mind, look them up. Use the promo code GEORGE and you will get a 300% boost all the way up to a $20 deal. So it's a nice thing they've put together. We'll go to the break. Guy will join us. This ought to be fun. Stay tuned.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685. Now that the weather has gotten considerably warmer, there's not a better place to spend a morning or an afternoon than Riverside Golf Lanes. So you've probably noticed the weather has gotten a lot warmer, and that means a couple of things in Nashville. It means baseball, and it really means golf. And for me, it's a visit to Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. There are now 27 holes, including a 9-hole executive course. If you want tee times or more information, dial them up at 615-847-5074.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
We are back at the beautiful Ford Ice Center in Bellevue, and by the way, there are thousands of kids out here. Big tournament going on that involves. I've done a little bit of scouting out. A lot of people from Minnesota in here. Quite a few people from the Ontario and Toronto area. So a lot of tourism through the sport of hockey. Right out here,
getting out of the cold weather. I guess it's not probably too cold up there, though.
Oh, I don't know. I don't have it in front of me, but I bet it's not sunny and 80.
No, certainly not. Feels great here, though.
So Mark McGee is with us, and Guy, of course, talks Predator hockey with us each week. Guy, how are you?
I'm not good. I'm good. Minnesota, don't you know? That's a big thing there, don't you know? Minnesota.
Don't you know?
Yeah.
And don't forget organization.
Yeah, definitely so. How you doing, George? Good?
Doing good. So, Guy, yesterday, Barry Trotz came out here for the speaker series.
Yes, I talked to Mike that came up.
Yeah, I'm sorry you couldn't be here, but he was surprisingly open about some things, and I want to talk to you about a couple of them. Number one, he was asked again, and this is the second time that I'm aware he's been asked in a public deal about John Hines. And to be honest, while he praised Hines, he didn't say he's coming back.
No, he just basically said, hey, he's got another year on his contract. And we'll see. He's going to talk to players. He's going to talk to staff members. He's going to talk to whoever he wants to talk to. He's going to talk to Hines and see what goes on there. But no, he's not giving him a firm definite for the fall. Carl Taylor's just there in Milwaukee. And Carl Taylor's ready to be an NHL coach. And if the Predators don't pick him up, I would say that this year and next year, another NHL team is going to get him. And so I'll tell you what to do to develop these young players that do so well this year here late this season. So, and I'm very young manager. A lot of young managers like to start with their own people, and so I don't know Hines. It's going to be confident that his future right now.
I don't know if you can help us at all on the microphone. It's a little shaky. If there's anything there you can do,
let's see.
Beat on it, or I don't know.
How's that?
I'm acting like I'm a radio engineer, which we know I'm not. So
that's better. No.
Are you surprised that they've kind of left him out here like this?
Well, yeah, because I was through the Tribes lifetime, so I don't know. I'm not sure what the situation was this standpoint, but I think that Barry's looking at everything, and he's going to have to. He's not going to commit on anything for a while.
Well, when you say that, I mean, how long can they allow Hines? Hines is under contract, and Barry said that.
Yeah.
How long can they allow him to twist in the wind?
That's a good question. He's got 1 year left on his contract. I don't know how quickly these talks are going to be that Barry's talking about. So we'll see how that works out. But he obviously is going to do some due diligence. I would say maybe before the draft, maybe we'll have something for sure.
I want you to hear a little bit of a clip we've got, and it's a lengthy one. It's about a 3.5 minute clip with Barry talking yesterday about his role in all of the trade deadline moves. Guys, if we can...
I think I definitely had a voice. I was just coming in, and I think that was something that was already sort of put in place, the direction. As I got there, I talked to David. I think where it was, if the team had shown a sign that they were going to go a little deeper, that they might have went in a different direction. But I think it was pretty clear at the trade deadline, and so I was all part of that. And David allowed me a voice. I wasn't just furniture in the back. And he pulled off pretty stunning. It's funny, I just got the job, and so everybody phones you, and other general managers, other coaches, everybody who's looking for work, it seems, and they all talked about how did we pull that off? We cleared a lot of space, we got a lot of picks, and that's where the leverage comes out. And you're talking about Tanner Jeannot. Tanner Jeannot was a unicorn. I know what David was asking for in terms of return, and I was like, no way. I don't even know if I'd have the stones to do that. Ask for that, but he did, and he got it, and I learned a valuable lesson. If you don't ask, you don't know, and I learned that process. But he was a unicorn because he was the exact player at the salary that fit exactly what they wanted, and there was only one of them. And so we were able to get a lot out of the Tampa Bay Lightning. And so I guess just like buying and selling a house, you ask for a high price, and if you get the right buyer, you can get what you want. So it was a great job, and it was a great return. And I think Tanner Jeannot was, I've never met Tanner Jeannot. I have heard nothing but fabulous things about him, and as a person, as an athlete, as a player, a teammate, all those things. But looking ahead, the ask of where he was going to price himself out from his agent, he wasn't that value in our eyes. So doesn't mean that he won't be back. We'll have another opportunity to get him, but we also got a lot of draft choices too. So they'll have control of him, and you'll see if Tanner Jeannot is a 20-goal scorer, which I know he did, or is he the 5 or 6 goal scorer that he was this year. I mean, the time will tell, but I've heard nothing but great things about Tanner, and hopefully in the player that we got from Edmonton is named Reed Schaefer. From scouting reports from not only our team but other teams, that he's a little bit of a Tanner Jeannot, maybe a little more Tom Wilson type player. Those players are far and few between in the league now, because there's not very many of them. But if we get something in between there, I'd be pretty happy. And I think as fans, you'd be pretty happy, and you'll get the production that you need. So, and he fits in the age group of where we think all our skill and our draft choices are, that we're going to have a big impact.
So, Guy, as you can tell, he was very open, very candid yesterday about a lot of subjects that I'm going to want to talk to you about. Your reaction to what you heard there?
Well, I mean, obviously he's been involved with everything from the beginning. He kind of has, he's learning a little bit about being a GM pretty quickly under David, and some of the nuances of it. So he's not going to be afraid to make some changes and make some additions, that's for sure. And I think he's looking forward to this draft situation, draft day, to see what kind of deals they can make there.
Mark, let me ask this back there. Billy, do we have the ability to just call him, get him on by phone?
Yes, we can do that.
Because this is really difficult
Yes.
to understand. Mark, we're going to call you, so we'll disengage on this and call you and get back to you here in just a second. Okay, I'm going to gather that process is going on right now.
That process is happening now.
Okay, another thing that went on yesterday.
We've got him, George.
Okay, let's get Mark back in here. Mark, one of the things he brought up was these individual meetings that he's having, and he was pretty open about the fact that there were a couple of veterans not all that fired up about the meetings and what he had to say to them.
Oh, I can believe that. I would say one of those would probably been Ron Johansson, because he's pretty much told Johansson, you got a summer to get ready, and you got to get quicker. He's looking for skilled players. He's looking for faster players, and Johansson's not a fast player. He's a great face-off guy. He's a great playmaker, and his shooting percentage has been really strong the last couple of years, though his overall goals have not been all that great at times. But Tross pretty much said that Barry's pretty much saying to him, maybe we got a spot for you, maybe we don't, but you better get a lot faster between now and training camp.
And I've heard him say that several times. On Matt Duchene, what do you think the message is?
I think he's going to give Duchene a little bit longer look. A lot of people are speculating that Duchene's going to be back next year, and I would say Johansson's probably going to be gone. And Duchene will be back. He seems, I haven't heard Barry say it particularly, but I've heard other people saying that, looks like that Duchene may be back. Good chance he'll be back. No, they won't try to move him unless there's just something great out there. He'll probably be back on the team again in the fall.
When you say Johansson won't be back, and that's your opinion, exactly how does that work with the salary, which nobody is going to pick up?
Well, I mean, you can't. Well, one thing they can do is they can bring him back, and maybe he doesn't play a lot. His minutes may be reduced. And Barry has said at the Monday press conference that some of the veteran players may not have the same playing time they got in the past. And that's one thing I remember from Barry was a coach. Barry always felt like the best way to control a player was to cut or increase their playing time. That's why he got a lot of his messages through, if somebody wasn't doing well, he cut their playing time. So I think that's one thing he's going to let these guys know. Maybe one of those veterans weren't too happy with everything, because he was telling them basically, you may not get as much playing time. Tommy Novak, Cody Glass, guys like that, they'll get more playing time. So you might want to, you're going to have to improve a lot, and you have to show me a lot in the fall and in the preseason before we decide how much you're going to get on the ice.
So
but I think Johansson's salary is a problem.
Oh, it's a huge problem. So in the press conference on Monday, it was pointed out they have 13 draft picks in this draft, which will be in Nashville. First of all, do you need 13? Is that almost too many, and does that mean you're going to package for some trade possibilities?
Well, I think so. Yeah, we talked about the 13 draft picks on the show, on your show before here, but and I think several of them in the first 3 or 4 rounds. So, really after the first round, and sometimes after late in the first round, the chances of players becoming impact players in the NHL starts to diminish some. And of course, Patrick Hornquist was the last guy picked his draft year. It was an exception, but for the most part, a lot of these guys that are even in the late first rounds don't really see any regular playing time in the NHL. So, yeah, I can see them packaging some of these draft picks for sure. I would not be surprised if all that happens. I was expecting that with 13 picks, like Barry was saying in the clip that you showed. They've got some currency that they can use to get to maybe make some moves and maybe add that one player or so that they're looking for.
Where are they salary cap wise?
They're not bad right now, I don't think. I forgot what it was exactly, but it was they've freed up a little bit of money. So, but I think that right now, really, you've only got one unrestricted free agent, and that's Mark Borowiecki, and the chances of Borowiecki coming back because they're looking for quicker, more skillful players is kind of doubtful right now. And I mean, I would say they kind of said, David Poyle said before he left his role, that if Borowiecki wanted to go somewhere else, I don't think they really would mind it. If he wants to stay, fine. We'll see if we can make you a deal. He's also got arbitration rights, and I know David Poyle hated arbitration, and I'm sure Barry Trice will hate it just as much. Arbitration gets to be a pretty bloody thing on both sides of the aisle. So so Borowiecki, I think they're telling him, go shop yourself around, see what you can come up with. If you do, we like to get you back maybe, but let's see what your price tag is.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like one of the huge issues surrounding this franchise right now.
Yeah, and you got Alexander Carrier, who's a restricted free agent, and so if they've signed him, Borowiecki, so they've signed him to another contract, then Borowiecki's definitely probably playing for somebody else this next season.
So, Mark, I want to toss, I don't know, theories, whatever at you. I have bought into what they're selling, in particular in Monday's press conference, in that they are on a track to something considerably better than what I thought they were in late February. They have made trades that have gotten them a bunch of draft picks. As David Poyle pointed out, they have cleared cap room to give Trotz maneuverability, and these young guys put an energy into this franchise that was not here in the first 60% of the season. Are you buying that this is? Are you buying that this is more of a reset now than a rebuild?
Yes, definitely. I think it's a reset. This team could possibly. I mean, people are already saying there's a good chance this team is going to wind up in the playoffs next year. So yeah, I would say definitely that's the case. I think we're not going to have to wait like a Chicago or whatever from that standpoint. So to do this, so I think the Predators have close to $20 million cap space. I'm just guessing. I think that's right. The last thing I saw, but so that gives them a chance to go out and sign some people. They need and they've always needed this, and everybody needs this to some extent. They need a dominating, scoring forward. And they've never had that. And they've had guys who've scored the goals, but they've never had a dominating guy who's just going to put points on the points a game type guy. They just don't have that. And so that's one thing they've got to try to find. And maybe somebody's out there right now, like Barry said, you see what's available, and maybe it's the person you want. You don't mind paying a little bit for them. So, but they've got that chance to go out and find that one player like that can really help them. They're not that far away, I don't think. These young guys really showed up and did well, and speaks well for the depth of what David's drafted in the past and signed in the past. You talk about depth players. Well, the depth players stepped up, especially the last month or two of the season.
Does Barry, with his reputation as a coach, have a better chance of landing kind of what you call, or what I'm going to call, the big fish, a guy that's a bell cow that you're going to get scoring out of? Does he have a better chance because of his coaching reputation maybe than David did?
Well, I don't know if Barry would. No, Barry really didn't attract that many big time scores when he was coaching. Barry's a grinding. I mean, not a grinder, but Barry likes ugly goals. Guys that score ugly goals. He always talked about those a lot. But I think that I think he knows what he's looking for. He knows what he needs. But as a coach, and maybe that gives him a little more of a ground view of it. But I don't know that his coaching reputation is going to help bring a big scorer in, especially if it's a unrestricted free agent type signing.
Well, he made it very clear yesterday. He didn't pull any punches, that's exactly what they need and that he's going to seek it. And then he went so far as he did on Monday to say, I want good people. I'm not going to take bad people just for skill.
Well, that's kind of been the philosophy of the team for the most part since the beginning. They've had a couple of exceptions to that rule, but for the most part, they've had people that were good people off the ice as well as good players on the ice. But they need that. I mean, they just need that dominating player forward, and that's good. He realizes that, and I think he would. But also, if you're going to be quicker and more skillful. I don't know how that fits into John Hines' coaching, because John Hines likes a physical, grinding type approach to the game. So this could be an interesting next couple of months to see how everything shakes out.
Okay, I want to go back to what you were starting to get into earlier, because I want to make sure that I hear clearly exactly what you're saying. So Hines right now is sitting there really not knowing what his future is, other than the fact that he knows he's going to get paid for the next year. So you've got a guy down in Milwaukee. Now let me ask you this: Milwaukee's still playing?
Yeah, they're making a Calder Cup run. Yeah.
So is this almost an audition for Carl Taylor to basically? The farther he goes, the less likely Hines comes back?
Well, I don't know if that's the case. I think Taylor's whole season's been an audition. I think that's been an audition for the whole season for him. So,
well,
I don't think what they do in this makes that big a difference. So really, I mean, it'd be great if they win it. It'd be certainly a feather in his cap. But so I don't know. Will happen from that standpoint. So, but I think his whole season, what he's done with the players there, and what he's done since he's been there, it was the audition for him. But like I said, most people feel like he's ready to be an NHL coach. So where is he becoming an NHL coach? Would Nashville like to keep him? I think that'd be great. We're going to make the decision pretty soon.
Well, okay, let me make sure I've got this right, because I'm not sure that I know exactly where you're coming from here.
Okay,
so Hines and Barry Trotz are likely, I would assume, to meet in the next week to 10 days, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
I think that's probably the last meeting he has after he talks to some of the players and some of the staff.
Okay, first of all, I have assumed all along that Hines was coming back, and I've assumed that there's some friendship there between Trotz and Hines. Correct?
Yes, he has said before that he liked Hines and respected Hines, and he said that Monday too as well.
Right.
He was very complimentary, but there was a big but as part of that. So I think, and I don't, like we've discussed before, Hines has never been a fan favorite. Fans have not really embraced Hines for whatever reason. as a coach, and he's been inconsistent. It's an inconsistent team. So I think when you look at it overall, you have to say we probably need to make a change. I mean, that's my opinion.
Okay. I guess here's where I'm going to go with this before we end it. So in the next week to 10 days, I'm assuming that Barry Trotz and Hines get together, and Hines is going to want answers, right?
Yeah. Oh, I was thinking, yes, definitely. He's got to know what his future's like here. You know, if you're going to cut him loose, you got to cut him loose in time for him to possibly, catch on with another team.
Okay, and I would assume that he's going to tell Trotz that, right?
Yes, I would think so. I would.
Okay, and Trotz,
disposition.
Trotz, I would assume, based on what I heard yesterday and Monday, is going to express concern about inconsistent play, right?
Exactly. Well, I said inconsistent play has been a problem, and so they've got to do something. I mean, that's been a problem from the beginning, and Hines' style of play is not fitting what the successful teams are doing in the NHL right now.
Okay, but will there probably not be some pushback from Hines saying, Barry, you try coaching Matt Duchene, you try coaching Ryan Johansson. I've tried everything under the sun to get these guys to play hard, and frankly, they don't play hard every night.
No, they don't.
So where does that go?
I know Barry's coached a lot of people that were hard to deal with too. So I think that Barry's going to say, hey, I know where you're coming from, but I've been there too. You got to find answers to stuff, to things like that. And I think one other argument Hines has is, look at all the injuries I dealt with toward the end of the season, all these new players that came in. And, and that was really interesting that the young players did well because, Hines was kind of criticized for the way he handled a lot of the younger players early on. He didn't want to give them a lot of playing time, and he didn't play them the way they should be played. Eli Tolvanen, who seemed to be lost here in Nashville, has become a very good player for the Seattle Kraken. He's in the playoffs right now. So, so I think that's a concern, even though he did well with these young guys coming in. He was a little hesitant early in the season to let some of these young, maybe more talented players have a lot of ice time or more ice time.
Interesting stuff, Mark. I appreciate the way you've laid it out here for us as always. Thank you for the visit.
Thank you. Sorry for the microphone problem. I got to figure out what that was. So, all right.
Radio Free Uganda.
All right. So, thank you, George. Have a good weekend.
Talk to you, Gee. Same to you.
Sure.
Okay, after the break, we're going to talk a little bit more about what Mark put out there because it is out there. Barry has twice in the last 4 days been asked about Hines, and he's been very open in his non-committal status. Stay tuned.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd, the goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Experience Predators hockey all season long. Visit NashvillePredators.com/season tickets and join the Loyal Legion today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets, and we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
At Baird, we have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals, all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Baird difference at BairdDifference.com.
Okay, we are back here at the Ford Ice Center for our Friday afternoon of Sports Talk. Thanks for being with us. Billy and David are back behind the curtain, although you may be able to see them. Guys, give me some thoughts on what you just heard. Billy, let's start with you.
Well, George, I think what Guy was talking about, he had a lot of really good points. But, with John Hines this year, with all the injury issues, you lose some experienced veteran guys, right? Johansson goes down, Forsberg goes down, right? There's injuries all over the place. Now, I'm not making excuses for Hines, but I feel like that's a pretty darn good one, right? And for him to be able to have those young guys come up in the system quickly, right, from Milwaukee and do what they did, I thought was pretty impressive. Yes, they didn't make the playoffs, but, I think for John Hines, he can hang his hat on that, right? I developed these guys quick enough, right? Maybe not him directly, but the coaches in Milwaukee, and he got them up with the Preds, and they started winning some games. So I'm kind of in the middle, right? I don't know that I'm very strong with Hines coming back next year, but I'm also not, we have to look elsewhere, right? If you're the Preds, I'm kind of in the middle, right? I think Hines deserves another year, but next year would be the year, right? At least for me, for Hines, right? If you miss the playoffs next year with Trotz as the GM, and that's another thing, Trotz as the GM, he'll probably push the envelope a little bit with Hines next year. So I don't know. I look at it a little bit differently. I thought it was a little bit impressive down the stretch there with a lot of the younger guys, and Hines coaching them up. I give him a little bit of credit for that. I don't know about you, David, but I'm kind of in the middle there.
Yeah, it's just interesting to see what direction they go. I would say that a lot of the fan base wants Hines gone and replaced. So it's just kind of interesting to see what Trotzy does on that front. But you make a good point. Those young players came in and they played well down the stretch and gave them an energy and a lifeblood into the team. If they make the playoffs, which they were really close to doing, I think Hines does stay. But the question is, what direction do you want to go in the future? Once again, it's not a rebuild, as George says, and what Mark has said, and even what Trotzy has said. He said it's a reset. So do you reset with a new coach, or do you keep the coach in place and give him more of a run with a new addition of faces to the locker room?
It's a huge decision.
Well, I'll admit I'd love to be a fly on the wall when they get down and dirty in that meeting, because my suspicion is that Barry is going to express concern about inconsistent play. Hines, I think, is going to come back with, I have tried everything under the sun to motivate certain players. I think toward the end of the season, Ryan McDonough, who had formerly, been a Stanley Cup champion with Tampa Bay, I think he started to emerge as the real leader of that team. Yeah, Roman Josi has the C. I don't see that being in his personality to be the leader that grabs them and says, you're not giving enough effort. I suspect it's McDonough that has been, and that's what I think is going to be the discussion, is Barry saying to Hines, look, if you've got bad people here, I'll get rid of them.
Yeah, that you have to weed guys out if you have to, right? And knowing Barry Trotz, listening to him yesterday, you got to imagine if he has to weed guys out, he's not afraid to, right? And I mean, you see it all the time, even at the college level, right? College basketball, college football, in this transfer portal NIL era, right? You've got some weakness points with some players that aren't helping your team. You got to do what it takes to weed them out. So that's what they're going to have to do, and it'll depend on who those guys are.
And over the next few weeks, Barry Trotz and John Hines need to have some honest conversations with each other about their vision of this team moving forward. Mark McGee just mentioned the different styles or approaches that each had to the game. Hines a little bit more defensive. We're going to win a game 2-1, with Trotz being a more offensive-minded coach back in the day when he was behind the glass. So that vision and that approach, they need to come to a conclusion of what's best for this team in particular moving forward with the pieces that they have already in place with Forsberg and Josi and the people that they are going to draft in this year's draft as well.
Let me ask you all this. I may be dead wrong about this, but I don't see that this can go on for weeks. This is something that in the next week to 10 days has to come to a resolution one way or the other. Anybody agree or disagree?
I agree, because you've got the draft coming up, right? I mean, you might want to have your coach solidified when you're, when you're interviewing, draftable players, draft eligible players. And I don't know if that process has already started, George. I would imagine that, right, that draft eligible interview process has started with a lot of those players. So they may have had to tell players, hey, we're still discussing, our staff, right? And we will have some changes. But I'm with you, George. I don't think this can go on a whole lot longer, because number one, the fans start to get antsy, like David said. I mean, there's a good majority of Predator fans that want John Hines out, and that's a fact, right? Now, fans are fans. They think like fans for a reason, but I think they do have a right to that opinion. So, again, I don't know. It is big, though, George. I feel like they've got to get moving here in the next couple weeks. You can't let it fester for too long.
George, you've been around the program, the organization more than I have. John Hines doesn't really seem like a personable guy, a guy that's really likable as a fan. Would you agree with that? Or
let me say this. I'm told, and I don't know John, I'm told by people who know him that he's a really nice man. Now, if I was in a room with him, I'd tell him to get out in the community a little bit more.
Yeah.
And this is an important piece of what goes on in a city like Nashville. It's clear that Barry Trotz did a lot of that in his years as a coach. By the way, I'll just say this one thing. I don't know where Barry is going with this. If I was going to lean, I think he keeps Hines. But here's one thing I'm convinced of. Barry Trotz's going to be a damn good general manager.
I agree. And, George, I think what you said about Trotz, that's the kind of coach he was, right? He was in the community. He was one of the people. You know, you saw him in the streets. You thought he was just a normal person. You didn't know that was the Predators GM or the Predators head coach, right? So, and I think that will help the organization. And I think it should help John Hines, right? Maybe Hines doesn't quite know how to approach that process. Maybe Trotz talks to him, and maybe that changes. Maybe it doesn't. But I think no matter what, with Trotz at the helm, you know, they're headed in the right direction. And, boy, did we got some great insight yesterday, didn't we?
Oh, my goodness.
I mean,
amazing.
I went into it thinking, yeah, we'll probably get some good stuff from Trotz. But, man, he gave us some stuff that Preds fans can hang their hat on.
Billy, real quickly, where can people see that entire interview if they haven't?
They can log on to our YouTube channel, search The George Plaster Show on YouTube. They can also go to our Twitter site. We've got nearly 3,000 views on Twitter, a lot of views on Facebook, on the live stream as well. And starting next week, we'll probably make short little clips from some of the interview and some of the luncheon. It's a great turnout, so you can also go on our podcast feed and listen to it there. So YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and wherever you listen to our podcast, you guys can go check it out.
No, we're a tad bit late to the break. Stat of the day, and then my buddy Danny Evans. And we're going to talk about this Oakland move to Vegas. And doesn't this push the timetable up to find out what's really going on here? Stay with us.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? How?
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
This is my buddy and former Nashville Sounds PA announcer Eric Berner. I always laughed in the old days at Greer Stadium when I would walk in, Eric would immediately play my favorite song, Van Halen's Jump. But then I learned he actually has a real job with Rockcastle Wealth Advisors.
Yeah, George, that's what I do. I help people in the pursuit of making their money live as long as they do. Everybody's situation is different, so I use a customized and individualized, personalized approach to the person I'm working with. Old 401ks, retirement planning, insurance planning, inheritance planning. Those are things that people like to get some more information about.
One of the things I find is people don't even know where to start, and that's where you come in.
Yeah, so I can usually help people with an initial phone call or meeting that is a no charge and no obligation.
And I'll bet you have a phone number and a website.
I do, George. They can call me at 615-235-1058 or rockcastlewealth.com or Eric at rockcastlewealth.com.
Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication, and we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700. Send us a message at celestemiddleton.com or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business.
Welcome to John English Antique Sports and Cards, located at 204 East Depot Street in beautiful downtown Shelbyville, Tennessee. Their phone number is area code 931-492-4304. John, obviously, I've been blown away by what I've seen at your place. I've now been there 3 times. But for the person who's never been, what should they expect?
Well, we have a 3,000 square foot store, George. Half of it is vintage cards in all sports. And then half of the store is, a lot of people call it the museum, where there's a lot of early equipment and just the history of sports in general. Baseball, football, basketball, golf, tennis, and other items.
When somebody comes in there that you know is a big sports fan, what is their normal reaction?
Well, I think that they're pleasantly surprised, and of course, being in Shelbyville, Tennessee, which is a small town that you would never expect a shop like we have to be in. So they're kind of, I don't want to say blown away, but as I said, pleasantly surprised.
Welcome back in. It is time for Stat of the Day. Kelly's favorite subject of the show, although Kelly will be no help to George today. Stat of the Day is brought to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards in Shelbyville. Give them a call at 931-492-4304. Once again, 931-492-4304. They're also located on 204 East Depot Street, and they are open Tuesday through Friday, noon to 5, and on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Let's see what I got cooked up for George here today for Stat of the Day. And here we go. Former Yankees closer Mariano Rivera leads MLB history with 42 career saves in the postseason. Can you name the closer with the second most saves in MLB history? And George, Danny is in the stream, and he might be a little help to you.
Ooh, hello, Danny. How are you?
What's up, George Blaster?
What's the first name that came to your mind when that question got asked?
Kenley Jansen.
Okay, I got to be honest. I like his thoughts better than anything I've come up with. David, is it Kenley Jansen?
He is correct. Waiting for the audio to come through. There we go.
Nice.
He is correct. It is Kenley Jansen. He has 20 career saves in the postseason.
Wow.
So, good story about Kenley Jansen. We signed him as a catcher out of Curacao. And he grew to, 6'5", 240. And he just outgrew the position and also couldn't hit a lick. So we changed him to a pitcher, and I think it worked out okay.
I would say it did. Enjoyed watching him for years of Brave. Danny, take 3 guesses where we're going to start all this.
Okay, I'll say Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Paris, France, or Las Vegas, Nevada.
C is the correct answer. Okay, you ready?
Of course I am. Go ahead.
Okay, so this Oakland stadium issue has been out there for as long as I've been a sports talk show host. Why suddenly on whatever it was, Tuesday or Wednesday, did this all break? What was there some event where the A's said, we've had enough of this, we're out of here?
George, you and I have been talking about this for an extended period. And we even talked about it last week when we talked about the CBA and why expansion hasn't occurred yet. I think the reason expansion hasn't occurred because Oakland and Tampa Bay has to be rectified before baseball can consider expanding. The Oakland Coliseum has been a horrible ballpark for an extended period. dating back very candidly to when I first traveled there in 1981. It just doesn't work. I think the Oakland management and the Oakland leaders are throwing darts at each other right now. It appears as though it's not the best of relationships, but I think they both have turf to guard. I think we'll learn more, but I think what's been going on here is the Bay Area land is so expensive, and none of us really know whether or not the Oakland franchise wanted to remain or not, perhaps remain on their terms. But I think what we have is a vibrant city that is excited about having the Athletics. But George, I also think the Oakland methodology just flat has not worked for an extended period. I think when you look at what they've done as a baseball franchise recently, it's nothing to be real proud of. And I think it's some poor decision making, a model that's outdated. And candidly, when they did Moneyball, I think they tipped off all of baseball to their strategy. And I've always wondered why you would tell people what your methodology is in selecting players. Recent years, George, they close the upper deck. They draw less than 1 million people. They're non-competitive. They allow one of the best managers in the game to walk away. I just think their model is flawed right now. And whether it's the ownership, whether it's the operators, or it's a combination thereof, what they're bringing to Las Vegas is not a very good team.
Danny, if 0 means they're not moving to Vegas and 100% says it's a codlock cinch, what do you think are the percentages today that the A's are going to Vegas?
George, I'm not in the deep end on this one, but I follow it closely just because it matters. I'd say there's a 9 in front of it. I think it's in excess of 90%. And all the indications I've read in the last 24 hours is it's very close to a done deal.
Okay, now the pressure point seems to be Tampa and Tropicana Field and a baseball team that is really good. Danny, does Oakland doing this force Tampa Bay to speed up whatever is going on down there?
Sorry, I was just slightly interrupted by a phone call. I forgot to do not disturb. So can you ask that question again?
Yeah, do you think that what has gone on this week in Oakland forces Tampa Bay to speed up whatever it is they're doing?
Well, before I answer that, George, take a look at the two franchises. They're essentially about the same in terms of attendance, in terms of finances. One is an elite team run extraordinarily well, great scouting, player development, churning players on an annual basis in one of the best divisions in the game. The other has struggled to be competitive in recent years. So I think part of the attendance problem has been the talent on the field and a competitor in their own market that is one of the elite sports franchises. I mean, the Giants are well run, one of the greatest venues in the game, in all of sports, to be honest, and a consistently competitive team with a fan base that's as good as any in the game. So I think we see now in Tampa a team that's been clamoring for a new venue. And I think you're right. I think both the local officials and the franchise now sees the Oakland situation and probably realizes that now they're the last chair and they've got to either make this work or there could be a change in venue. I think the key. Go ahead.
Is Nashville's better shot to try to get Tampa to move here or to get an expansion franchise?
Great question, George. I think you're always better when you don't inherit somebody else's issues. But the great thing is that's a microwavable team. That's a highly competitive franchise. So immediately they'd be competitive. It would be very similar to how the Vegas Golden Knights have been competitive from the get-go. And they're an expansion team, but they and the Kraken in the NHL have done a great job being highly competitive. But for me, somebody who's been in the game my whole adult life, I think it'd be great for the Nashville fans to start from square one. But if that franchise is available on that side of the Mississippi, I think the Nashville fans would have a lot of interest in taking a team that's highly competitive and very well run.
Danny, do you think the Tampa situation gets resolved by the end of this baseball season?
George, I don't know that, but I think it's imperative for baseball to have that situation ironed out. It's been a long time problem that has really been a bit of a scab. And I think for the game to grow and the game to expand, now they're a situation that's just sitting out there by itself. And I think there'll be a lot of movement, a lot of emphasis from both sides to try to maneuver and get this thing done.
Danny, I want to kind of toss some opinions at you and kind of see where you go with this. You ready?
I'm ready.
I think the group Music City Baseball has done an extremely good job of getting Nashville's name out there amongst the cities that are trying to vie for whatever it is you're vying for, whether it's Tampa, whether it's Oakland, whether expansion. They've done a really nice job there. John Lohr has come in and sort of appointed himself as the decision maker. He's announced what kind of ballpark we're going to have. He's announced a capacity of a stadium. He's announced a nickname. And while I may be wrong, Danny, I don't think he's got an owner. And I think as long as he is not able to show us or tell us, here is the billionaire that is going to do all this, I think it's a bunch of hot air.
George, let me take you and the listeners behind the curtain on this one a little bit. When Major League Baseball considers a relocation or an expansion franchise, they have a control person. That individual with the franchise is responsible for the decision-making of the franchise. But in this mode, that person is also the contact person when it comes to assembling a management team, an ownership team that is viable and also is able to compete on an immediate basis financially. And that's where the pathway gets difficult. Expansion is very costly. You come in and you pay a lot of money to the other 30 entities. You come in and you know that you're joining their club. It's a very lucrative deal for an existing owner. In this case, if we had 2 expansion teams, that pays a lot of bills for an extended period. So you've got to be viable financially. And George, in today's world, you have to be competitive. They will have no trouble. See, I think there's 2 cities that would thrive with a new franchise, and that is Portland and Nashville. And I think what you need is a demographic base that is vibrant and ready to support the franchise. I look at those two cities and I think those two towns jump all over a big league team, but you got to pay the bills. And just the initial hit coming in as an expansion team, plus just being competitive because you don't completely participate in a lot of the revenue pools initially, you've got to have financial support. And if they don't have it there, that will hinder their chances to secure a team.
Okay, Danny, would I be accurate that we're talking B as in billion? Got to be close to $1 billion, correct?
$1 billion for what though, George? What's the
whoever it is, because let me say this, the hottest rumor that was out there for a good while was former Governor Haslam looking and kind of kicking tires about what the baseball thing really is, and eventually he settled on being the eventual majority owner of the Predators hockey team. Now, John Lohr has come out with all these different things. 42,000 seat stadium, nickname's going to be Stars. I pay no attention to this. I don't give a damn about any of that. I want to know who this owner is that's got all this money. And until he says that and until he's got that, it's all a bunch of hot air.
I don't know if it's hot air, George, because you have to have momentum in order to secure the team. You and I do not know what's going on behind the scenes. And that would be something that would benefit both Major League Baseball and their hopes to lure a franchise. Major League Baseball would prefer things done under the radar because it's appropriate. And it's also a better way of doing business in this environment. So whether he has anybody, I don't know. But that billion number, there's going to be some big dollars buying in and having capital initially for a stadium, for all the things you need. So they're going to need somebody who plays in a big boy sandbox because the league is vibrant financially right now. And they're not going to bring somebody in who's a problem like they did with Frank McCourt years ago at the Dodgers.
Good point. So let me ask this last question on this subject. And by the way, if I end up being wrong about this, I'll say I'm wrong. I hope I am wrong. I don't think they have the $1 billion person. In fact, I would be shocked if they had that $1 billion person. But this is a really good city with a lot of great things going on. You see it when you come to town. Is there a scenario where baseball says to this group, listen, you've done a great job with all this, but you don't have an owner. We're going to furnish the owner, and then we're going to tell you what the nickname is and where the stadium's going and all that kind of stuff?
George, first of all, I completely support the effort for baseball to come to Nashville. I think it's going to be an absolute great fit. I have no doubt. Just having been there last fall, there's no doubt in my mind it's vibrant. But when you pair up with Major League Baseball or any professional sport, you get guidance, you get advice from people who have done it for years, and they steer you to making better decisions. So when it comes to your team name, your colors, you get all kinds of support, and you get support in positive manner. So, will they be told what to do? Generally not, George. But you bring that plan to Major League Baseball and you articulate your plan because you're coming into a licensing situation. You're coming into sharing revenues with 30 other franchises. They want to assure that you come out and succeed from the get-go. The teams that haven't in the last half century, were really burdened by their early decisions. So I think what you really get is you get propped up and you get great advice and guidance. So maybe they're not the stars. I don't know. But what they currently have is a presence. I mean, I get their emails and I see their social, and I think they're doing a good job making people aware that they exist. But it really comes down to clearing the committees, the ownership committees that exist, having a detailed, not only vibrant plan, but a cohesive plan for long-term success of the franchise. And I think that's why expansion is such a big deal in baseball, because they have to come in and be competitive, and they got to come in and make good decisions. And it's a tough game, but it's tougher when you don't come in with the right game plan.
Danny, hang with us. We're actually going to talk some baseball on the field after the break. Imagine that. What a novel concept.
I like that game.
Let's do it.
Let's talk a little Action 24/7 before we go to the break, George.
Well, let's do that. The folks at Action 24/7 are a locally owned and operated deal, which means they're looking for local business, and they're going to try to treat you the way you would want to be treated. Use that promo code George, and you'll get a 300% boost up to a $20 play to sort of be the incentive for you to do it. These are good folks. Check them out. We'll go to the break, and then we'll talk on the field with Danny Evans. Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Now that the weather has gotten considerably warmer, there's not a better place to spend a morning or an afternoon than Riverside Golf Lanes. So you've probably noticed the weather has gotten a lot warmer, and that means a couple of things in Nashville. It means baseball, and it really means golf. And for me, it's a visit to Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. There are now 27 holes, including a 9-hole executive course. If you want tee times or more information, dial them up at 615-847-5074.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
So let's talk a little baseball on the field with Danny Evans, who joins us for his weekly visit. First of all, Danny, any news from the Field of Dreams in Iowa?
And when we're planting corn, that's a good sign for everybody who visits the Field of Dreams movie set. But a month and a half from now, we'll have corn all over the property.
Oh, I love it. So give me some thoughts on Madison Bumgarner, who was released yesterday by the Arizona Diamondbacks. Danny, this has been painful to watch because his performance has really deteriorated in the last couple of years.
And you know what, George? I remember back in 16 and 17, he had some problems when he was a Giant. He's never been the same since he's left the Giants. Diamondbacks signed him to a big deal, expecting him to be the same guy he had been in the Bay Area, and he was never able to deliver that. When they designated him for assignment, just so the fans know, everybody has a shot at getting him in a deal. They could pay him down to the league minimum. They could work out a deal if they wanted. But with the size of his contract, I know he's owed a lot of money. It's over $30 million. So my guess is he'll go through. Somebody may consider him at the minimum salary, but it's been really quizzical for me how much he's gone backwards. But George is a baseball guy. I see a couple things. Throws across his body a great deal. Thrown a lot of innings. And I've seen frustration in him the last couple of years that I never used to see. And that's usually an athlete's way of telling you that he doesn't have the same stuff and he's trying to kind of grunt through it. It's a shame because this guy was as good as there was for an extended period, but what he showed up in Arizona with has just not been real good.
Do you think he has anything left?
I saw a start about 3 weeks ago, and I would say no. And I'll tell you why, George. I'll just give you a very specific reason. He relies on his cutter a great deal. And that cutter needs to get in on right-handed hitters and get away from the barrel on left-handed bats. He just doesn't have as much velocity as he used to have. And he used to have plus command. And now the command of his fastball and his cutter is just mediocre. And it's hard to get by in the big leagues with mediocrity.
What do you make of Scherzer's deal? Why is the rosin such an important deal? Kind of talk to me about that whole situation, because the stuff I've read is really weird.
Well, let's first inform our audience what the real issue is here. Baseball is trying to get away from artificially altering spin rates on fastballs. And George, what that really is that's keeping the fingers on the seams longer than usual and imparting backspin that gives the ball movement and continuation on a plane that gravity doesn't allow naturally. So guys are trying to find sticky stuff. We all remember that the last few years. And what they're doing is they're trying to impart more spin than humanly possible. The umpires, Major League Baseball, and very candidly the clubs, don't like this, what's going on, because it makes hitting harder. It gives the pitcher a distinct advantage, because the ball thing does do things that it doesn't do naturally. So in Scherzer's case, him claiming sweat, perspiration, humidity, rosin, I find it interesting that nobody else has had that issue. I don't really know what's going on. He seems pretty forthright. He's very transparent about conversations. But that's the only time I've ever heard rosin being the central issue with a big league pitcher. And I think the fact that we all know him, he's an elite first ballot Hall of Famer. I wish I knew more, but it sounds so unique that it gives me intrigue as to what really is going on. The umpire is one of the better umpires in the game, very well respected. I appreciate Scherzer's transparency, but something just doesn't seem right in this entire equation, George.
And the one thing we know, man, that guy has been the ultimate warrior. I'll take the ball no matter what. It was
George,
weird.
He might be one of the best free agent signings ever. You talk about performance, consistency, his ability to perform at an elite level on a massive contract. This guy's delivered.
George, I want to hop in here if I can on this issue. Danny, I know you watch a ton of baseball. Last week in the Twins-Yankees series, this substance check came up as well with Domingo Germán of the Yankees, and he did not get ejected in the game. They made him go in and wash his hands just like Scherzer. And Rocco Baldelli of the Twins got ejected because he's like, you check him, ask him to wash his hands. Why is not an ejection? Can you kind of talk to the audience about like the ejection part and just the leniency that we saw in New York, but Scherzer getting tossed in LA?
It's a super question. I don't have the directive that the league sent out, so I really don't know the procedure and the protocols. I wish I did. When that occurred last week, and that's a great point, I hadn't heard that before, that you could go wash your hands. I'd never heard that, so I was a little surprised, but I do not know the exact protocols, and without that knowledge, I don't think it'd be appropriate for me to just spitball out there.
Danny, Giancarlo Stanton got hurt again, and this time it was really interesting to hear his reaction. He said that the latest in a series of these, disabled list things is unacceptable. And almost like he was putting it on himself. And yet, I think we know him well enough. It's not like he tries to get hurt.
Yeah. George, I thought it was one of the most revealing character situations we've seen recently in sports. Enormous frustration, accountability. Giancarlo Stanton, Mike Stanton, years and years ago was a Sherman Oaks football player in high school in Southern California. And even back then, people talked about his character and talked about a terrific young man. George Genovese, the greatest scout who's ever been on planet Earth, loved him. And George told me this is going to be one of the elite players in the game. He chooses baseball. And the problem is we've never seen him for an extended period at full throttle, healthy. And the shame of it is that happens. And it happens throughout the game. There's so many guys that you and I can point to, Bo Jackson. We can look at Sam Bowie, Bobby Orr. There's been guys with elite skill sets couldn't stay on the field. In his case, though, I thought this was as transparent and as revealing as any athlete I can remember in recent times. And I believe what you say. I think he was looking at himself in the mirror and saying, what the heck is going on here? And I appreciated that. This guy, when he's healthy, George, wow. But the problem is, I think for a guy like him who has such high character, it bothers the heck out of him that he's not on the field. And he's probably at a stage of his career where he appreciates playing more than ever. He's got his money. He wants to win. And for guys at that stage of his career, it elevates the frustration when they can't compete.
Danny, give me maybe a minute or so on your gut feeling, your crystal ball of how this whole Ohtani thing ends up. Does he end up getting traded at the deadline? Is there any chance the Angels are able to sign him? What do you think's going to happen here?
I'd like to be Shohei Ohtani right now.
God, you think so?
Yeah, I think so. I'd be fine. I think I'd be okay, George. He's in such a great position, probably as good as anybody's been in an extended period. So, George, just think about it. It's like getting two players, getting a number one starter and an elite middle of the order hitter with power. You can't find that guy. That guy's never existed in the history of the game. People tell me Babe Ruth. No, Ohtani over Babe Ruth right now. So I look at this with a lot of pressure on the Angels. They have to be competitive. And it's going to be a very interesting strategy as to what the Angels do leading up to the deadline. They could hit the jackpot, but if they hit the jackpot, they lose him. They'll know whether or not they'll have a shot. Perry Manassian's one of the best GMs in the game. He'll know the situation, but Ohtani holds all the cards. And for a fan of a franchise or for someone on the periphery, the club doesn't control this one. This is in the player's hands.
You got that right. I would love to be his agent. Danny, this was great stuff as always. Appreciate it.
George, thank you. Have a good weekend.
Danny Evans, he is as wired to what is going on as any human being out there when it comes to talking baseball. And I thank him for being with us. After the break, we will have plaster bets of the day. One from the NBA, one from the NHL. Something's got to give. I need some wins.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd, the goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Experience Predators hockey all season long. Visit NashvillePredators.com/season tickets and join the Loyal Legion today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets, and we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to AlacoFineWoodFloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
At Baird, we have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals, all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Baird difference at bairdifference.com.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication, and we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700. Send us a message at celestemiddleton.com or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business.
Welcome back in. Final set on a Friday. Thank God. It is time for Plaster's Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bart Durham, injury law firm. They're simply put the best in the business. They are lawyers you can trust. Give them a call at 615-242-9000. Once again, 615-242-9000, or log on to bartdurham.com. Before we get to today's bets for this weekend on a full docket with baseball, basketball, and NHL playoffs, let's go back and revisit what George did on Wednesday night. And George, it did not look too good. Los Angeles Lakers lost, and that is incorrect, but the Carolina Hurricanes did come through for you.
So we got a split.
We did. So you're still 159 and 160, so looking to get 500 this weekend.
Okay, here's where we're going. The ABC has the Knicks game tonight against Cleveland from the Garden. I'm here to tell you, Madison Square Garden will be electric. When you hear the organists do that defense thing that they play, you listen to how loud that crowd is. The Knicks are going to feed off of that. They're going to win at home, and they're going to cover against the Cavaliers. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but the line is only 2, and the Knicks are going to get it done in front of a raucous Madison Square Garden. On the hockey front, Craig Leopold's Minnesota Wild are home tonight against the Dallas Stars. This is a 1-1 series deal, and I'm again going with the home team. I think Minnesota at home will get it done against a Dallas Stars team that's really good but doesn't score a lot of goals. And so that's where I'm going. Knicks, Minnesota Wild, and hopefully on Monday I'll be able to report that I went 2-0. On Monday, our show will originate from Foxland out the golf course out in Gallatin, Tennessee, as part of the FCA's annual golf tournament, their fundraiser. Brant Snedeker is going to join us during the 2 o'clock hour, and then during the 3 o'clock, we will, of course, have Kelly Holcomb's World of Football. Hope all of you have a great weekend. We have had a busy and fun week out here at the Ford Ice Center in Bellevue. Got a lot of people in here from out of town for a big tournament that's going on. Hope you have a great weekend. Make it a safe one. Drive nice out there on our interstates. We'll see you Monday.